see if that's going. I don't know if that's going or not. Yeah, it is. Now, I'll just put you on there. You was talking about your brothers and sisters.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I thought I'd just ask you some questions about what you remember when you was growing up.
Okay.
Is that all right with you?
That's all right. Hey, there's nobody. My kids are not interested in that.
Is that right?
No, nobody's.
I bet they might be more interested than you think they are. They just don't think about it at the time, you know.
Well, I've got a story to tell you after a bit.
Okay.
Go ahead and talk to her, and then I'll tell you the story.
Well, you can jump in there and tell us all about it. So tell me about what you remember from your family background when you was little. When and where you were born, and what your family background was, where you lived.
I was born in Mill Creek.
Yeah.
Right in town. I guess Dad knew. Dad was an old school, old room. Hey, I've got his old bill.
Yeah.
You know, the old handbill. I've got that.
Yeah.
But he was a one-room school teacher.
Oh my goodness.
Where's his? What did I do with those pictures?
Oh, they're downstairs.
No, they're not. They're in there.
Oh. Do you remember where you put his Christmas stuff?
Whose? Yes, it's in the. There is a bag in the front room.
Front bedroom.
Front bedroom with a striped.
Wrap. Striped wrap.
No. Striped. Well, go in there and look and see if you can find it.
I'd rather see them pictures later. I'll scan those in and so I keep them on the computer. And you can keep the originals and I'll keep them on the computer.
See, she was the oldest of her family, and I was the baby of my family.
Yeah.
And
but Charlie was the one I named.
Yeah.
When Charlie was born.
Why'd they run out of names? Because you had so many kids by then?
No, her dad was gone.
Dad was gone. Dad, I think I had a couple of uncles that lived in Baltimore. And I don't know why Dad left at that time. Of course, at that time, people did not realize what time. When they didn't count up. When they will get somebody pregnant, they had no idea what will be there.
Yeah.
What was there happened. But Dad and Mom, so I called Grandma Kearns. She came up, and then Aunt Icy, that was an aunt. So Charlie was delivered, but they called a doctor. And the doctor came out and he said, it's a little boy. And he says, what's his name? I said, Charles Lee. And I was 9 years old. He wrote it down. Dad came home from Baltimore. He came in and he said, what's his name? I said, Charles Lee. And he says, I never did find out a Charles Lee meant the hell of beans. But Charlie proved him wrong.
He didn't like it at first?
No, he didn't. He didn't like Charles. He didn't like Charles Lee's name. See, I've got a baby brother and a baby sister that's dead.
Yeah.
That was born when they were small. I had a baby. John was, I don't know how old, because I don't remember, but I do remember Marguerite.
I remember seeing their graves when we went and looked at them up on that hill in West Virginia.
West Virginia.
Yeah.
Right behind the old grandpa's. Well, they were buried on her grandmother's and grandpa's farm. That's where they were buried. That's what that cemetery was.
Yeah. We looked for an hour.
Did you go up there?
Oh, yeah, years ago at Elkins, the family reunion. We all went up there. Remember we looked and looked and looked?
Oh, did they?
You were there.
Yeah.
Well,
she ain't never missed a family reunion.
Yeah.
In fact, it's again this year in Elkins.
Yes, I did.
When?
I don't remember, but there's
She can't miss it now. She's the matriarch.
Yeah.
So, do you know where your family is from? How they got to live in Mill Creek, West Virginia, where they originated from?
Yeah. Dad was teaching in Shepherdstown. That's where Luther and Bill both graduated from Mosby Academy. It was segregated.
Mm.
See, at that time, you had to. So it was a all-white school.
Wow.
And yeah.
You laughed though. When we first came to Parkersburg, Charlie come over and stayed that whole summer with us. The next year, her dad got a job up at, what's the name of that little town?
Lawrence.
And he taught up there for, what, 3 years?
I don't know.
And he decided he went from there to Ashtabula up north.
Uh-huh.
He was up there 2 years and it was cold.
He didn't like it.
He
Was
didn't
that in
like
Ohio?
that. So he went back, yeah. It's said from Cincinnati towards Pennsylvania line. It's Ashtabula County and it's Ashtabula town.
Yeah.
And anyhow, he hated that snow. So he went back to Virginia and he taught at Harper's Ferry from then on until he retired.
But Lil and Jen, I don't know how they both got to be in the same grade. I don't know how that happened.
Lil met it flunked out a year, I know.
Lil from failed.
Yeah, she failed a year.
So it was Lil and Jen was both in, but they graduated from up there.
They graduated from front row, didn't they?
No.
Oh, no, Ashtabula. They graduated from up to Ashtabula.
Yeah, but what was the town?
Ashtabula.
Well, I know, but the school. I don't know
Oh, I can't remember that.
What the name of the school was.
So you had a whole mess of siblings, huh? You're the oldest.
Well, there's me, Bob,
Jean.
Now Jean was
and
Jean.
Ann graduated from Tiger's
Jean
Valley.
is one that would get me in trouble if she could. She was one of these. I gotta tell you, one day I could drive, but I didn't have my license. And Jean wanted to go to Elkins, see some boy. So we drove the back roads. We drove back roads from there. Is back roads from Elkins, Milford to Elkins, and I drove. I never. We got home. Dad, I don't think he even missed us. But I drove it.
Did he ever find out?
No, not that I know of. He never did find out.
That's one thing I never did squeal on you about.
No. But Jean wanted. She was some boy she was crazy about. See, Jean and I worked for J.C. Murphy's. We roomed with the Hutton, Mr. and Mrs. Well, Hutton, and we knew that Hutton's family. And we worked for J.C. Murphy's. Then Jean got a job at the telephone company. And she worked for telephone. That's why we used to call. Bob was in Korea. And we'd call. Jean would, late at night, she'd call me and she said, I got a line up open. So we would call Bob on the phone. Yeah.
Or they talked to Bob in Korea.
Yeah, we talked to Bob in Korea.
And she waited until around midnight before Jean would put the call through, because it had to go through Pittsburgh, then over.
Oh. Wow.
And now that's how, yeah. So
how'd you reach him over there, I wonder? In a platoon?
I don't know. I have no idea. But we did talk to him. They would get Bob. And I sent him cookies one. Never Charlie too. I said cookies. When they get him cookies, it'd be nothing but crumbs.
Yeah.
He said the crumbs was good. They ate the crumbs. I never forget Charlie's talk. But
so what's the age difference?
Age difference.
Yeah. What year were you born?
1931.
31, and Bob was next in line?
Now, yeah, Bob was born 2 years after me.
He was born about 33.
About 33.
And then Jean.
I don't have. You know what? I just run across them over where. What is those? Honey, go in there and get me those things put up from downstairs for Dad's pictures.
Were they on the table?
They're in there. They're in there, yeah, because I was going to take them to the reunion this year.
So who came after Bob?
Jean.
Jean. 2 years later.
2 years later. And then Ann was 37. No, Charlie. Luther was born in 37. And Luther was after Ann. Then there's Bill. Then Virginia. Lil in Virginia. Lil's older in Virginia. And then Charlie and Sherry.
And the 2 other ones just fit in earlier.
Oh yeah, they was. I don't know.
In the
exactly
30s.
Because, I was just a kid and I don't know, but I remember them dying.
Yeah.
Because I've got Mom's old cedar chest, and they used to, whenever Marguerite died, they put her. I guess they had to put her in the Dad's back bedroom in a casket, and they had to open the window so she could, because of.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So.
And she was a baby, huh?
She was a baby. Well, Johnny was. Johnny was, but Mom never took care of kids.
Yeah.
Mom had them, and that's it. Someone else took care of them.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Charlie was one. Aunt Beulah had Jimmy. I don't know if you ever heard of Jimmy. He's a cousin. He worked for Kroger's too, but he just died here. You behind him? I had somebody, Jimmy's wife called, and Dad was in Mason. He was Mason. And Dad was in the commandery. There's a spin-off, Mason, and Dad was commander, and I guess he was a high priestess, what they called a priestess, and they didn't have no pictures of him. And Jimmy's wife called me, and the guy Jimmy has got a son that's a doctor at Elkins. His, I guess they went through him and asked him if someone could give him a picture of Dad because they're making something on the commandery. And no, they didn't have a picture of Dad, and one of them picture of Dad.
And you found him one?
Uh-huh. Yeah. I found 2 or 3.
So what do you remember about your dad?
What I remember about Dad was one of these. He played the guitar, and he had and he tried to play the violin. And you'd go in there at night, and he would screech, 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 screech. We'd try to sleep, and our bedroom, the girls' bedroom, was downstairs. And the house was, you'd go in the back door, and it was kitchen, and then it was dining room, then a setting room, and then back this way there was a bedroom back there. And the girls slept in that bedroom, and of course the living room, Dad would sit out there and stuff.
Is there anyone on the table? Is this the bag?
No, it's not a bag, it's papers.
No. Where he didn't get his Christmas?
Let me see, yeah, let me see.
I think it is. They ain't on the table, and they ain't on the, still downstairs where I knew they were.
Well, how'd you know I wore suspenders?
You wore suspenders last year.
Oh, I did?
I
Yes.
had been.
Boy, them are nice, too. Thank you.
I told you
that.
I had you something.
Yeah,
And
you got
you never
something else in here, too.
What is it?
Oh, these must be for someone else. You got some earrings or
see.
something? Butterflies?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That was for
you.
last year. I told you I had you something.
Yeah.
And you never came by.
Ah,
So you didn't.
I didn't come home for Christmas. I didn't know. I was. Did I?
Yeah. You was. You was here.
You know.
But you didn't have much time, evidently.
I don't know how I got here. I don't remember flying in. No, I was here last May. A year ago, yeah, I drove in.
Well, it was Christmas time that I told you, close to Christmas.
Oh, yeah, I think we were talking about I might be able to come in and then...
Yeah.
But
I told you I had you something.
I can't remember anything
I found
anymore,
those
it seems like.
Walmart, I think.
Oh, cool.
And I thought they were cute, so you had a pair of...
yeah, those are beautiful.
I found your... what's the one, the beer, the suspenders got the beer?
Budweiser. I got suspenders of Budweiser. Red pair and a blue pair.
Is that right?
I won't wear them anymore.
Well, I like those because they're black and white.
Yeah.
And you wear
that's when I saw that.
Any color.
That's what I thought. I saw those. And you might like those.
Yeah, that's very sweet.
But you never did come by for them, so I didn't.
Now, you want to hear a good story?
Yeah.
I had been to a football game in Elkins. See, I played football when I was in high school.
Uh-huh.
And anyhow, I'd come from the football game. This was after I quit school and went to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked in the Quonset Grill, which was a hangout for younger people.
Well, it is a place that, like, Gene and I would go over there and get a sandwich or something.
Anyhow, I
after work.
walked in there this evening after the football game, get a cup of coffee. And I seen her and Gene sitting over in the booth. Walked over, got talking to them. Well, Gene was my age, but I fell for her. As soon as I seen her, I fell for her. And she wouldn't have nothing to do with me for a while, and then finally she broke down.
Yeah. So that's too old for him.
And
I'm about 5 years older than he is.
4.
Yeah.
My birthday is 31, and he was born 35, so you know.
4 years.
4 years.
So how old were y'all then?
I was 18 when I met her.
Yeah.
And she was 21. And she didn't want nothing to do with me. I kept after her until I got her. And heck, we dated for a long time. I tried to kiss her goodnight one time. She moved. And I thought, okay, old gal, I'll wait my turn. And anyhow, one of the guys that I worked with at Kroger's knew the family.
Knew Dad.
And he told me, he said, her dad's mean. Well, I wouldn't meet Pop. And anyhow, the night before we was to get married, I wanted something from the store, and I went down, which was only a block and a half from the apartment we had, or I had. And I walked down. We were going to get married in June.
Mm-hmm.
And Mom got married the first day of February. And I told Clara, I said, I don't like this bachelor. Let's get married now. So February 14th, we got married.
And he didn't know it was Valentine's Day.
How's that right?
Yeah. But anyhow, the night before we got married, her and her brother Bob showed up down the store looking for me. And I was sitting on the meat block. I went down to get some kind of meat. And sat and talking. And they said, Dad's up to the apartment, wants to meet you. And I thought, oh, shit, here we go. And you know, he became my dad.
Dad did. Dad loved that. Yeah, he really did.
He had a problem. He knew who to come talk to, didn't he?
Yeah. No, there's some pictures.
They're not on the table. And they're not on the stand that they were on.
It's still on there.
So were you the first one to get married then, since you're the oldest?
And I was the baby of our family.
And you weren't. So you definitely weren't the first one to get married.
No. My oldest sister was married.
And had kids.
No, she didn't have any kids because we lived in Kearns at that time. And I'd already started the first grade before the kids came along. Because Mom and Dad went over, and I stayed with Grandma when Judy was born. And then Joyce came along, And Mom.
You know what this is? It's an Avon.
Oh, look like earrings or something, or a pin.
No, it's just a pin. It's got a.
Yeah. So then back up and tell me about when and where you were born and what your family was like.
Now this will shock the devil out of you. I was born, and it wasn't an niche clinic at that time, I don't think. Right in the corner of downtown Elkins.
Over a drugstore.
Over a drugstore. Neal's drugstore. That's where Neal come from. And anyhow, I was born in this clinic, like upstairs. Well,
Neal's mother worked there.
Mom, well, later on she worked there.
Oh.
After I was born, then.
Oh, I know that.
The only thing I can remember is when we lived in Monterville, my dad built a house up there. And I never will forget one time. I was about 5 years old, maybe. 4 or 5. Anyhow, Dad was painting. We had a back porch and a front porch on the house that Dad built. It was a nice home. And Mom called us supper. And we started painting the porch, so we had to go in the front door. And I finished in a hurry. And Dad told me, he said, don't you touch that paintbrush till I get back. I said, I won't. I went out and I finished painting the floor on the porch and started on the side of the house. Boy, did he whip my ass in. He warned me good.
You were just trying to help.
My dad only whipped me twice that I can remember. And that was one of them. And I was 4 or 5. Because I started the school out of Kearns. Because Dad retired from the coal mine. He was blacksmith at the coal mine. And he retired from there. And the road was going through from Valley Head to Marlington. That Marlington over there, Webster Springs.
Yeah.
Anyhow, the road went through and took our house. And I can even remember where the old road was, even yet today.
After we were married, we drove up there, and the house is still standing.
Our old house is still standing up there, but anyhow, that's when we bought the farm in Kearns. And Grandpa was working for Jeff Eisner on the farm on the hill, right? You can see the house from our house. And then World War II, that's when Raymond and Arden bought the farm for Grandma and Grandpa. They had adjoined ours. That was the old Hicks place when we moved there. But I started the first grade in Kearns grade school, and I went up till 7th grade, and we sold the farm and moved to town. My dad built barns up there, and houses up there. And there's one farm at the house that Dad built, and the barn are still there. And I think there's another barn around the turn, but the one barn, they tore it down.
It built to last. Huh?
I was probably in the 2nd grade or so when World War II started. And see, at that time, if you went out to where your Grandpa Kearns was buried, right down that bottom, that was the colored Army base, or Army camp. Now where the racetrack is was another Army camp. And then behind our farm, there was 2 great big Army camps. And I used to go up there and sell papers, Intermountain paper. One night, boy, it was coming a heck of a storm. And this soldier walked up to me and says, you better get home. I said, well, I got papers.
I got 2 of them.
He says, how many you got? And I counted them off. And they were 5 cents a piece at that time. And he counted out the money and gave it to me. He said, now you get home.
Wow. Was it dangerous or something? Why do you want to send you home? Because it was dangerous?
Because there was a storm coming.
Bad storm coming.
There was a...
And them guys was all intense. At that time, that's all there was. And there was 2 big Army camps back there. There's one that I sold the papers to. And then across the road on down, there was another big one. And one of those army camps, every GI that was out got killed in Germany. Every one that was in that one camp. The Lord, they would take those guys, they covered up the road signs with burlap bags. And you had to know where you was going. And anyhow, they stretched a cable across, I can't tell you the name of that. Big, deep, they were Blackwater Falls. What's it called?
Blackwater Falls.
No, Blackwater Falls, but what was it? The
Old Town.
no,
Thomas Davis.
no, the where they put the cables across, and the GIs had to hand walk them across.
I don't know.
It was a
The GIs used to. Have you been through the Seneca Rocks? Have you ever been through? Yeah, I never went through there. It's on the other side of Elkins.
oh.
There's
Seneca
rocks.
Rocks
Just
was there.
Seneca Rocks. They're great big rocks. The Army used to have.
Oh, they had cables up there too.
Yeah.
Canaan Valley.
Canaan Valley, yeah.
Was the name of that. And those guys would have to walk. And I mean, it was or not walk it, but hand cross it. And it was probably half mile long across there from one side of the valley or the Canaan. Well, they called it Canaan River, run down through there.
It's not a Canaan River.
No, but that's what they called it, Canaan Valley.
Oh yeah, it's Canaan Valley.
Yeah, I've been skiing up there.
But this is it. It's interesting
if you go out to where you can see that down in the Canaan Valley, that's where they had it stretched out, and it was clear across to the other side. And them guys would have to hand walk that. They had one or two fell off of that.
They said they used to have those, and there was rocks, and there'd be rattlesnakes over in there. Those guys, some of them would fall. Yeah.
It was.
You were sort of mischievous when you were a kid.
Oh God,
yeah.
was he?
What'd you get into?
Yeah. You name it, I've been into it.
That's where I got my orneriness from, I'll bet.
You would laugh. One day I came home from the store down here to dinner, and on my way back I got behind this semi truck, and he was just poking along, and I followed him. He turned in Kroger's parking lot, parked, and I parked over where we always park. And he got out of there and started in, and I looked, and this guy and I grew up in Kearns.
Oh, me.
And it was Dickie Blosser.
Yeah.
And anyhow, I walked over there and I looked and I said, Dickie? He said, Neal? So I had hair back then. Neal? And I said, yeah. We stood there and talked. Well, it's getting about time for me to punch in for dinner hour. I told him, I said, come on and go in with me. And we went in, and I punched in, and him and I went downstairs, and we must talk for a half hour or an hour. And anyhow, first bicycle I ever had, they'd bought him a new one, and I bought his, we bought his old one for the first bicycle I had. Anyhow, now, he, like I say, he was driving trucks, and he lived in Fairmont, West Virginia. And then a friend of mine called me here a while back, well, it's been a couple of years ago, and told me he was in Elkins in the rest home. Got Alzheimer's.
Oh.
And in fact, I called the other night, the same girl, and she didn't answer the phone. I just told her, well, I made a mistake calling hers. I was trying to call a guy here, Alfred Tim Lane, and I looked, and hers is tiny, but it's in my phone, Tiny X or something.
I don't know what I've got down.
Yeah, but anyhow, it was her number that I called, and since she answered it,
I'll bet if you called him, even with Alzheimer's, he'd remember currently.
Oh yeah, he remembered terms, but what was funny, we were talking, you know, I told him who I was and Clara was, this, and we got ready to leave. He says, "Oh, I want to tell you about Neal Robinson getting hit in the neck with a bat." And anyhow, I still think it was baseball that hit me, because Junior Harper was pitching, and I think I was a bat. And I threw that bat down and went out on the mound and cleaned his plow for throwing that ball right at me. And I still think I was right, but Dickie said I took the bat with me. And I might have. I can't remember that, but I thought I just threw that bat down and went after him.
But you took the bat after him.
Yeah, well, Dickie said I did. I don't think I did.
I bet Junior Harper didn't throw the baseball at you anymore after
that. He watched me from then on. And that's Sylvester Fretwell that is running the get-together of anybody that ever went to school with the old Kearns grade school. And Sylvester and I were down across the railroad tracks.
Sylvester. I've got it right here. Is it Sylvester?
Sylvester Fretwell.
Yeah, Sylvester.
Anyhow, we were down there. We were the two younger ones. And the boys got into a big fight down there. When we got back to school, the teacher took Sylvester's word that he wasn't mixed up in it.
Yeah.
But she wouldn't listen to mine, and I got my butt paddled.
She knew better. She knew you had to have been mixed up in it.
That's exactly right.
Sylvester and I just sat and watched it.
Yeah.
But, because Lord was probably only in about the 3rd or 4th grade. I wasn't getting out there with those 8th graders in the fight. Old Eddie Cross, him and I got into a fight. The old Hartman's the one that caused that. And behind that house, it still sits there beside the railroad track, in between where the old train depot used to be. We went around there, and Eddie and I got into it. And we were batting each other pretty good, you know. And Dickie, his mother, Sylvia was her name. Sylvia come out there and hollered at us, "You boys quit that. Break that up right now." Well, we quit. Later on, Eddie told me, he says, probably a year or two later, he says, "Oh, that was one fight I was glad we were out of." He says, "Hell, we were hurting each other." But we old Hartman's one caused that fight. Eddie and I never did fight together.
Yeah.
I had a good time one time. We always, at Halloween, we would throw corn rings. We'd shuck corn, and we'd take it off the cob, you know. Throw corn, cars going up and down 219. But we was always on the hillside. Well, this one evening, we were on the bottom side, next to the railroad tracks, throwing uphill. Well, this one guy, and I don't even remember who he was now, but anyhow, he threw a whole ear of corn at this car, a brand new one. Man, it stopped right now. And there must have been 7 or 8 of us scattered along that hill. And I was the last one to get out of there. And I got down to Cross's house, and I went in the kitchen door and hid behind the refrigerator, in between the refrigerator and the wall, the sidewall. I was supposed to have been hid, but Lord fed his son for me. And whenever the corn cob hit it, that guy stopped. The beer joint was right up the road. The other guy bailed out and went up and called the cops. By the time the cops got there, we were gone. But I was the last one to get out of there. And I come down.
You think about somebody throwing around. And you got it on us.
See, Lord,
yeah, I got it.
See, my youngest sister was 15 or 16 when I come along. In fact, all 3 of my brother and 2 sisters was my mom's first husband. And then I was by dad. And I've got one cousin still living up in northern Pennsylvania, up in the Charlotte.
Yeah, I never will forget his sister. He's his oldest niece. We used, and her husband was we just dearly loved him. Charlie and we decided one year we was going to go and look for his aunt, or for his cousin that lives in, well, what's it called up in there?
Well,
it's up in the Poconos.
Yeah, it's right.
It's
She's
in the
just a few miles from New York line.
Neal knew her. She was 18, and I guess she was down here, but
she was 18 and I was 10.
Yeah. And Neal remembered her, but she just got married. Just graduated high school and got married. And Neal had been up in the Poconos. So Charlie and us and Judy, Charlie and Judy and Neal and I decided we was going to go up and see if we could find his aunt, his
cousin,
Alice. Neal, the only thing he knew was what her name was. He remembered her name, her last name.
First married name was Alice McMakin.
Yeah. So we went up through there in these country, and when we went, the roads had been changed. Yeah. And I got on we went and couldn't find this town at all. Of course, the road didn't go by in the town at all. But we went down, and he said, we're too far out. So we went in and stopped, and the guy told him that he'd already passed the town.
Yeah, he told me. He says, Charlie turned around, and
so
we went back to this baseball field and took that road. And that was the old road that went clear up to where my uncle lived.
That was so funny, Charlie.
We went by the cemetery down below. Well, when we first went back, went across into the shop.
Made a phone call.
That's not the shop. And what was that town? Yeah, Mahoopany. We went in, and I said, now my grandparents and my uncle is buried on the hill up there. Well, things had changed so much. We went up the road, and I told him, I said, it's on top of a hill. And all at once, Stacy was with us, Judy's daughter, my niece, his daughter.
She was in the back of the
And
van.
she says, there's a cemetery up there. We backed up, went up there, and I found my great-grandparents' plot. And then I found Dad's brother and his wife's plot. And we walked the cemetery looking it over. And we finally gave up finding where Alice lived. And we stopped to eat dinner.
We stopped to eat, and I got on the phone up in there. And there was a lot of victims. So I got, what was it, second person I called?
Second one.
Second, I called to and I asked if they knew Alice. And this woman, she says, yes, she's a cousin of mine. But she's been married again. She told us where she lived and what her name was. We got back, and they told us how to go to her house. Charlie, we found the house.
That's not Charlie.
I mean, why do I want to call you Josh? But he does. He reminds me of Josh. But we found the house, and
we were going up the road, and there was a house, and her and her second husband had a big dairy farm, but he had passed away. And
yeah, why do I call him Charlie?
Her second husband passed away.
Yeah.
Her first husband passed away, and then her second husband passed away. Anyhow, here's this lady out there mowing with a push
mower.
Power push mower, around the pond. And we stopped. And I asked her. Well, she finally turned around and looked at me, and she said, "Oh my God," she said, "I'm glad you all didn't hit that horn. I'd have probably jumped in the pond." And I looked at her and I said, "Alice?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm Neal." Of course, I always went with Neal. And she looked at me and said, "Neal?" I said, "Yeah." Oh my God, that's when she told me. Yeah, that's when she told me. She said, "My God, if you guys had blowed that horn, I'd have jumped in that pond."
That's what she told him. But and, you know, we had a real good visit with her. And ever since then, we've been keeping in touch with her.
Yeah, I've got her phone number and my cell phone 2 or 3 times a year. I'll call her,
she's up in her
call me.
How old is she now?
92.
But we still keep in touch with her.
And she's a cousin?
Yeah, she's my first cousin. Her dad and mom, they were home whenever we went up there. In fact, they didn't even know we were coming. And my Lord, we got on the train in Kearns, went to Cumberland, Maryland, got off of the Western Maryland, got on the B&O, and sometime in the night over in the East Coast, we had to change to go on up to where we were going. We got up to Mahoopany, Shopping's the other town. We got up to Mahoopany, that's where we got off. And at that time, that was World War II was going on, and they had troop trains, or cars on that train, and we had to walk through the troop trains. But anyhow, we got a seat up there, and whenever we got to the shopping, Forkson's the name of that little town where the cemetery is. Anyhow, when we got to that to get off, Mom got me up, but I was still sound asleep. But I walked through that train, and as we got down, going off the steps, I woke up.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we had to get a cab then, and from there, shopping on into where they lived at what I just said.
What was the name of that little town you found? What was the name of the town where she lived?
Mahoopany?
No. Forkston.
Forkston.
It was just,
Forkston.
It had a school. I can remember the school. And,
tiny little town, huh?
Oh, yeah, it's just an old country town, little town. Like, out of, yeah.
Funny.
Where are the schools at, that town? Barlow.
Yeah. Just like that. Well, y'all grew up in little communities, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, of course, we was on we lived on there was a valley bend and a mill creek. Well, there was a back road that went.
In the 8th grade, I went to the 8th grade junior high school in Elkins. And then up until my senior year, that's when Dad died. Mom and I was going to eat. I had to quit school and go to work. Coach Weimer stopped at the house and came in to see me, and he told me he knew I was going to have to quit or was going to quit. He told me, he says, "If you will stay and get your senior year, I guarantee you a football scholarship to West Virginia." Wesleyan. No, West Virginia Tech.
West Virginia Tech, yeah.
Down the southern part of the state.
And it's around Montgomery.
And then what was funny, the other day I was reading the obituary over in Parkersburg. Red Weiss went to that school. He wound up, he played 1 or 2 years for the Baltimore Colts. And he lived in Parkersburg, and I didn't know it until he passed away. That he lived over there. What was his name? It wasn't Red, but that's what he went by.
You said Weiss?
Yeah, Weiss. But anyhow, they had the Red Weiss in the obituary. But as soon as I read the paper, I knew, well, hell, that's who that was. And it used to be when we was at football practice. Old Red, man, he could run. One night, we had to run the whole length of the football field. One practice, he'd beat me. Next practice, I'd beat him. And we were 2 fast guys. I never will forget one time old Coach Weimer, we were at practice dressed, And I had Charlie horses so bad I couldn't hardly walk. And here I was 6 or 5, 7 or 8 or 9, something like that. Anyhow, this guy I chased around with, Tree, we called him Tree, his name was Dale. Anyhow, can't even think of his name now, Tree Ferris. Anyhow, old Tree, he was right end and I was left end. And I was going out catching my passes. Old Tree just goes loping out through there. Finally, Coach Weimer, Tree, come here. He says, I want to show you something. You watch Robinson. He's got Charlie horses so bad he can't hardly move, and he can outrun you. You're too lazy. And the next time Tree went out, now them long legs of his stretched out. That old Tree. Boy, he was a good basketball player, though. Oh, man. I don't even know
who was the one that was in graduated Mill Creek that was a basketball player?
Oh, shit.
What was his name?
I can't remember now.
We didn't have
Tacey.
football.
Tacey was his last
Yeah.
name.
Yeah. What was it? Yeah.
I can't right now think of his first name.
We didn't have football in where I graduated.
Where was that?
Mill Creek.
Mill Creek.
Oh, you didn't go to Elkins?
Oh no. Oh no. I went. Well, in this little town called Mill Creek. That's where we went. I went to school. I graduated in '49.
Well, see, my oldest sister, that's whenever Dad died, she insisted Mom and I get up there. So we went to Middletown, Pennsylvania. And then I was supposed to go part-time or evening school to get my education. But I hated it up there. I went to work for Acme Food. Mom got a job as nurse at Hot Fellows Home. We was up there for 2 or 3 months. Maybe
just the two of you?
With my sister.
Middletown,
we was living
Pennsylvania.
with my sister. And
why Pennsylvania? Did someone live there?
His sister lived up
my
there.
oldest sister lived
His,
up there.
yeah, his sister lived up there.
Anyhow, I come home one evening, Mom was there, and I said, Mom, now you can stay, but I'm going back to Elkins. She said, if you're going, I am too. We went back to Elkins, and Mom got her old job back with the doctor there.
McNeese
Clinic. See, Clara helped, or Mom helped, Clara, Mom helped deliver your mom.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And whenever they let us go, we went back out to Uncle's. We had a coal stove. Mom went with us.
Mm-hmm.
And that night, the damn fire went out. And Mom says, you ain't staying out here. You two or the 3 are going into Elkins to stay with me until you find a place.
We had a little 3-room house. It was his uncle's. No bathroom. You had and we bought a stove, a table, a couch, and a bed. We had no refrigerator, and it was a snow in the wintertime. I could take the milk out and set it in the snow.
Yeah.
Oh,
you
yeah.
didn't have to do well. You settled in the snow.
I gotta tell you,
back in town because her dad and 2 brothers, or 3 brothers, went out and loaded all of our furniture out of Kearns and brought it back. And we, when we first got married, we lived in the front of the Hippodrome building, 2nd floor.
No, we lived in Talbot buildings.
No, that was later. Because we was using my uncle's furniture there. Mom and I was. When we got married, I kept that apartment. Well, then my uncle wanted his furniture, so Clara and I moved down to Talbot's.
Okay.
And we were down there.
It was a furniture,
and I don't know why we moved over to Worth Street.
I don't know why either.
But we moved over there. I think it was a little bigger or something.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow.
Yeah.
To buy the furniture, I had to get a rent from my uncle this 3-room garage apartment out there at Kearns. And like I say, it didn't have heat, but it only cost me $5 a month for rent.
Gee, money. Is that right?
We lived out at the. What? Remember the nursing home Mom was in?
Yeah.
It was in South Florida.
Mhm.
Neal and I moved out there for one time, and the only thing we didn't have. There was we bought a rug and a wardrobe. I have a cedar wardrobe that I've still got. We bought a cedar. We didn't have no place to hang our clothes, and there was a big room for. I don't think we have any furniture in that living room at all.
Where?
On South, over there where we moved.
Well, we moved from.
Yeah.
Oh, that was up over the hip drum on the side.
No.
How you doing, buddy? How you doing?
All right, how about you, man?
Oh, pretty good. We saw you climbing up there on the roof.
Oh, I had a big ass limb fell down on my house.
Oh, I thought maybe you're
no,
sunbathing.
Huh?
A limb fell down.
When that storm hit the other day?
Oh, did it?
Oh,
Hell, I never even seen it.
Give it here. Give it here. All right, go get it. Bring it here.
You have to get up there and drag it off, huh?
Yeah. Well, I had to go cut it down, yeah.
I never even noticed it.
Well, I didn't either. And I was out there last night, and Rich come out, and he said, "See that limb down on your house?" I said, "No." The big limb fell out of the maple tree over on the house out of the front.
Oh, hell, I never noticed it.
Well,
I might not have even been up and down the street.
Well, no, I mean, I couldn't even, if you're not looking for it, you couldn't see it, but I mean, it kind of like half-ass broke off, so Sandy and I went up there and cut all the limbs off today, and then I still got the big piece I got to get off tomorrow, but it's just getting too hot.
Oh, it's hotter than the devil
So
out
I
there.
told Sandy, I said, that's tomorrow's project. We got the worst of it done.
Yeah.
We've been sitting here bringing him up to date from the time we met each other until now.
Yeah, I stopped at Dad's the other day, and he said you went to Cambridge, and then I stopped at your mom's and had dinner and whatever.
Is that right?
So,
yeah, I went.
I saw you sitting over here. I thought, well, better stop over and see Josh.
Yeah, I'm
He's
glad
probably
you
leaving
did.
on tomorrow or Monday.
Yeah,
When you leave.
Probably tomorrow, but Monday latest if I don't get everything packed up. And
Well, yeah, I mean, you can always paint your dad's garage. It needs painted big time. We painted the ceiling out there and stuff.
Yeah.
I said, hey, Josh is in. He can paint that for you. I said, your shoulder's all hosed up. I said, give him something to do while he's
Well,
in.
I asked him if he had stuff to do. He said, "Oh no." And then one morning he was out there and looked like it needed weed eater. I said, "Get your weed eater." He pulled out his weed eater and I weed eated up all around, the side of his driveway and up around and down the hill.
Hey, he got a lot of shit to mow.
Yeah, he does.
He does.
And then I laughed because I came in, I weed eated, what I thought was pretty good. And then I look out the window and he's out there again, going behind me weed eating. I said, I must not have did it the way he did it or the way he likes it to be done.
Dads are like that. They're kind of picky about how they get their stuff done.
I'm going to tell you, Ted.
Grandpa's the same way, so don't eat it.
Yeah.
I'm not picky.
Yeah, right.
Hell, I ain't said nothing. I've only moved my front yard once this whole summer.
Is that right?
Yeah.
We've got a neighbor that does.
Yeah. That guy right there.
But he don't like my backyard.
I mean, he's got so much crap to cut around back here.
Yeah.
I mean, the trees and the shrubbery and all that crap.
Now, we don't have no trees.
You got that Rose of Sharon sitting right there.
Have you seen a bird? There is a cardinal.
I haven't seen it for 2 days. So I'm going to guess it learned to fly and they took off.
Well, yesterday they were over on your carport. I didn't get to see the baby.
Trying to, or not your carport,